Hello and welcome to the post-match analysis of Cricket 360. I still can't believe that this is just day two of the Test match. This seems like probably day three, day four. Joydeep Da is with me. Welcome. What a riveting Test match! Fantastic. When we began the day, we were like, if India can make the most of the first hour, they clearly did. 210 all out, I think, except Peterson. I think Jasprit Bumrah right from that wicket of Markram. I mean, what a fantastic spell. Let me start with asking you. I mean, my favorite wicket was Markram's. Which was your favorite dismissal for Jasprit?
I think it was the collectively. See, Markram is not in great form. You cannot leave that ball from Jasprit Bumrah. He's basically an in-swing bowler. He gets the ball back in. On a wicket like this, you can't leave that ball. So I think he was undone by lack of technique, lack of intent over there. See, that's what happens when you're out of form. When a bowler gets inside your head, then you start leaving balls you shouldn't be. And we've all been out of form. We know how bad that is. And he's completely looking out of sorts. And I remember the great Jack Callis telling me that the biggest thing coming out of South Africa next is Eden Markram. And he's pretty tight with his praise. So when it came out, this is in 2018 or 19 when he was with KKR for the last time. So ever since he said that, I've been looking out for Aiden Markram, but he's obviously not in good form. But just the way all his wickets, the way he prodded his way through, and the best part about him was that in spite of Umesh going at 4, Shardul going at 3, him and Shami kept it down. I think if those two also could have gone at 2, 2.3, 2.4, we could have probably had a 40, 50 run lead. That's what I was talking to you this afternoon.
Yeah.
That as a group, you cannot give more than 2.2 to 2.3 runs and over as a group, as a unit. It doesn't matter when the wickets come. Australia does this really well. There's a partnership of 70 runs, but that's in 34 overs. They suddenly get one wicket and they get two more. So the runs
Yeah,
are always
absolutely.
in hand.
And I think, I mean, again, absolutely. I think Umesh, he obviously struck twice, but he was leaking runs. Shardul today probably not, not at his best. I mean, you obviously can't be taking 7 wickets every time, but yes, I think in terms of leakage of runs, he could have been a bit tighter. But I just thought that period where both Shami, I mean, again, Shami, I think he deserved a few more wickets. That seam, both were so precise, incisive. Bumrah from one end, the ball's coming in. Shami is prodding away with his seam. It was such a wonderful spectacle to see. And I mean, again, as Indian fans or fans of Test cricket, we've been used to this. But I thought today there was a slight Jasprit. I mean, especially obviously, I'm probably referring to the fourth innings. There's a different zing to it, or even even when he got Marco. A different sort of celebration. I mean, he seemed a bit more calmer. He let the ball do the talking. There seemed maybe memories of Cape Town 2018 kept flowing in, but absolutely amazing performance. He was like seemed like the leader of the pack, which he is, and kudos to that. And I think these two guys have brought India very much into the thick of things.
And it's expected because he is the number one bowler. He knows he's really good. When you're as good as he is, then you don't exult after every wicket because you're bound to take wickets. It's like Tiger Woods winning tournaments. It's like Federer and Nadal and Djokovic winning tournaments. When they win the majors, they go berserk. When they win the other tournament, they just go another tournament. I'm here to win. That's normal. So having said that, I think Umesh playing after a long time was showing. Umesh being in and out was showing in his bowling.
Showing, yeah.
Shardul still not a finished product was showing. Shardul is very much still a work in progress. No matter how much of first class cricket you play, until you play international cricket for a while, you will not get the hang of it. There was a time when Shami used to go at 4 runs and over, but he's learned, and Shardul will also learn. That is the only way to go through that is by playing more international matches. And Umesh plays on and off here, in and out. Ishant, him. So that's the reason why. But he bowled some superb deliveries. The one that he brought back in to get Van der Dusen was an outstanding ball because the ones before that held its line and went away. So that would have foxed any batsman in the world because when you see two balls going out, you're always looking for the ball going out, and that ball jacked back in and jacked back after pitching. So nothing in the air, seam off the pitch, unplayable ball.
And when I absolutely, and when I was watching that special double strike over 56 from Shami, I mean, I was remembering what you were telling us this afternoon. The man's got something special. I mean, his strength and
Oh,
his consistency of the seam. I mean, he probably does. I mean, I think the commentators are talking about this, that he bowled so close to the stump. Of course, the umpire also called him for potentially kind of maybe getting into the danger area, but that's fine. But I think just that you probably don't have too much of a choice as a batsman. You have to play at it, you have to get close to the ball. You can't leave those balls easily, and I think that's what kind of does the trick for Shami.
yeah. When he started off as a young bowler, he always came close to the stumps. We had to later teach him to go away from the stumps because when the
Right.
ball is swinging around a lot, then what you want to do is go away from the stumps because that's the way you negate your swing. If you're beating the bat by about an inch, inch and a half, then what do? How can you make the ball swing less? Okay, one way you can do it is go a little wider so that the angle is created so that there's less of swing. There's biomechanics coming in, and also with going away, the batsman feels that I got to play it because it's sort of coming at me and then it swings away. So the further away you go, the less the swing. And sometimes you get the nick. So he's a finished product now. See, he can swing an apple. Okay. So for him in these conditions, I mean, I'm not even surprised. I think this is par for him, you know. And with a bit of luck, he could have had five today. The number of times he beat the bat. But one thing was evident in, I know you'll come to the South African bowling in the second innings. One thing is evident is the bounce that they are getting and we are not getting. I suddenly thought all day the bounce had disappeared. But again, it's back.
That's
You know,
true.
there was
And
one
I was
bouncer
about.
which the keeper, there was one bouncer which the keeper
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
get to. Yeah. Nothing
Absolutely, I
like that
think
happened when we bowled.
that's true. And I was about to refer to the fact, you mentioned that you only get a good glimpse of a pitch when both sides bat. Would it be fair to say that this pitch, I mean, it clearly seems to be a bowler's paradise. Batting still seems difficult. I mean, of course, bounce, clearly South Africa is making the most of it. But from a general, from a general pitch perspective, this doesn't seem to be easing out.
No, it's not easing out, and that's good to see because that's an even playing field. Otherwise, the toss matters, and
Yeah.
India won the toss and batted first. But there was a time when India, everybody knew that playing India on a flat wicket, you've got no chance. So they gave them green tops. So we now learned. BCCI had green wickets in the last 6, 7 years, produced an array of fast bowlers. We've got about 8, 10 guys. We've got 5 guys who are not even there, who are probably 70, 80% of these guys. The Ishan Pores, the Sainis, the Sirages just missed out. So there are a bunch of guys who are really good as well. They're also waiting. And all I'm saying now is that before it was flat track, you can't beat India on a flat track. Now you can't beat India on turning tracks. That's you've never been able to beat them. Now you can't beat them on green tops either. So this is where we are coming around as a team. We are becoming an all-round team. Now we can go to Australia and win. We can go to England and compete. We are going to South Africa and competing. 5 years, 7 years back, 10 years back, with on these sort of pitches, they'd blow us away. And also,
Yeah.
that South African team was totally different. I
A
mean,
very
let's
different
not
class.
even compare. Yeah, I mean, 90s, 2000s. I mean, that is unbelievable South Africa. Just not the bowling, but even the batting. I mean, the Gary Kirstens, the Graeme Smiths, the Herschel Gibbs, the Jack Callises. You can go
I
on
mean,
and on and on.
I
That,
still remember the particular match where Klusner scored a century when he came at number 10, number 11. I mean, that's how
yeah,
good the team was.
yeah, they
And
were super.
absolutely, I mean,
Boucher at seven,
Boucher.
149 test matches. Unbelievable team. And of course, they have had their issues. We know. I mean, it's been spoken about. So it's difficult times in South Africa. A lot of their players, because of the cold pack rule, they're going to England. They're playing county cricket. There's more money. There's more security. We know the issues with South Africa, but it's good to see that they're in competition and and having lost somebody like a Quinton de Kock, that's a massive loss. One of the big guys who you're banking on through the series suddenly goes. But in spite of that, they're in it. They're giving us a run for our money. The only reason they can do that is because there's some juice in the pitch. If they played on flat wickets, India would be all over them.
Spot on. I think Quinton de Kock, I mean, I was looking at the records, and I think the last few times they scored 300 plus, it was thanks to Quinton who scored centuries. And obviously, and I don't know whether he's going to reconsider his retirement from Test, but you're right. I mean, it's good to see. I think, whether it's Rassi, whether it's Peterson, Bavuma, there's good talent. Again, we'll talk about Peterson's innings. But since we're talking about bowling, I want to get your opinion. I mean, if I look at the Indian attack, you're right. We probably have 4 or 5 in the current squad. We probably have another 7, 8 fast bowlers, right from the under 19 age group. But one area I feel where I haven't seen, or at least in the international arena for India, a left arm after Zahir Khan. We've seen Unadkar, we have seen Khalil in the shorter format. In the domestic circuit, are you seeing any good left arm bowler who could potentially join the squad in the next 4 5 years?
Yeah, there are a few. There's a Ravi Kumar who's right now playing for under 19 India right now, doing really well from Bengal. Now, Khalil has lost his way a little bit, so he's also somebody you would want. But more than a left arm seam, I mean, that's always a novelty. I would look for taller fast bowlers because we
Right.
can see what taller fast bowlers can do. So on Navdeep Saini, he's tall. Siraj is tall. You want those 6'4". Ishant, he's 6'7", 6'8". So, he's on his last leg. He's played 100 test matches. So you want somebody to come and you want a couple of fast bowlers who are tall. And it was evident today, Virat Kohli getting hit on the right elbow on the second day after tea. And to a ball he's playing on the back foot, wasn't even a bouncer. So obviously the bounce is getting to him. And he's a guy who's got runs everywhere in the world. Still, this tall bowler's bounce is troubling him because he's not a guy who will go and get hit on the right elbow trying to defend the ball. So
Fair
clearly,
point.
what he saw from the slips, his bowlers, this is different. And I was thinking that maybe the bounce is gone, but the bounce is not gone. What it is that it's just the height of the bowlers that's making the difference.
That's
Because they're
making the
bowling at the
difference.
same pace. They're bowling 136, 140, which is same as Umesh, same as Sami. Bumrah was bowling quicker, but the where you leave the ball from, you know, which is a good length ball on a if it's 5'10", you can play forward, you can play back foot, but that from a 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", you play on the back foot that comes about half a foot above, and that's the adjustment which is difficult to make.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I mean, when Marco came in, he probably there were a few balls. Probably he was bowling a bit too short, but it was good to see he all started bowling it a bit fuller, and probably Kohli missed a couple. But since we're talking about bowling, I thought there's another interesting aspect. I mean, the no balls. I mean, Rabada has been spot on, but I mean, on the no ball side, it is rather shocking. I read somewhere that potentially he's bowled nearly a third of his career no balls in this series. And there's a funny tweet from Dale Steyn where he says, should there be a free hit in tests as well? What's your take? I mean, with Rabada, what's going wrong, and what's your take on this? I mean, it's an interesting suggestion that if you can have something, a penalty for a bowler in the shorter format, should there be
Yeah.
some sort of penalty in the longer format, given just the number of no balls?
Yeah. So in the shorter format, it's well taken care of. I mean, you hardly see a no ball being bowled. The people well behind the line. I think in the days version, because you're striving that extra bit, the odd one here and there is still okay because you don't want the red ball cricket to be a mirror of the white ball cricket. That's the last thing you want
Right.
because it has its own charm. But yes, this is something I had the chance to work with Wasim Akram, the great fast bowler, when I was with KK, and so was he. And he said the only way you can fix a no ball is to just make sure your back foot landing gets further back. There's no rocket science to it. It's the same for an under 15 player or a test player. It's always the
Got
same.
it.
And when Jaidev Unadkat first came from under 19 India to KKR, he had a huge no ball problem and he worked really hard with Wasim Bhai. And in about a month, he didn't bowl a no ball rest of his career, and he hasn't bowled one now. So this is, I know some people who haven't bowled a no ball in their career. Kapil Dev hasn't. Ranadev Bose, fast bowler from Bengal,
Yeah.
he hasn't bowled a no ball in his life. I mean, you can even do it at a much, at a first class level. I mean, Kapil Dev is a legend and have international cricket, but even at a domestic level, Ranadev Bose in 14, 15 years of domestic cricket hasn't bowled a no ball. So it's possible. And what we do in Bengal, just on a lighter note, we've got a fine. Arun Lal, the head coach, has a fine on it. If you bowl a no ball in the nets, it's $1,000. If you bowl one in the match, it's $5,000. Nobody
That
bowls
is
it.
rather expensive.
Money always works. These guys are well looked after these days. Playing first class cricket, they're well looked after. And ever since this has come, nobody's even touched the line. But
So it
but
could,
then again, you don't want to compromise on him bowling from a foot behind also. You
yes,
want to get as much as you can in test match cricket. It's about getting the guy out. The white ball is about not giving runs,
right.
and then you force the guy to get out. Here, you'll try to get the guy out. So that's the reason why I wouldn't want a rule like a free hit or something. But again, it's for all the bowling coaches to make sure that maybe the percentages are low as a team unit. But the
Good to
odd
know
one
that
here
it's
and there, when you're really striving for pace, that even that half foot matters. So you
For
don't
sure.
want
I
to be
mean,
well behind the line.
and you could figure out that Rabada is clearly going for that extra bit, and in that attempt, probably this is happening. But it's good to know that it's fixable, and B, economics works even in the case of no balls. Well, before we
Absolutely.
discuss the batting performances on both sides, let's quickly see what Anand Vasu has to say about the day. He's had the great pleasure of watching it live.
Before the start of the series, both teams would have known that the bowling is what's going to decide this contest. India's batting is fragile, South Africa's batting has been fragile as well. The exact same story is played out in the deciding test match here at Newlands. For India, Virat Kohli played the hand that took his team to a decent score, and Keegan Peterson returned the favour for South Africa. But his 72 aside, there was not much in terms of contribution, which left India with a 13-run lead. How did they get there? Jasprit Bumrah once again. He was a little off colour in the last test match, perhaps trying too hard in the second innings, but he returned to his usual delivery style, his usual mode of getting dismissals, and it worked perfectly. But he was not bowling those unplayable deliveries of either jumping off the pitch or swinging in or moving away off the pitch. He was creating that awkward angle and making batsmen play all the time. Odd ball straightened, and that was enough for him to pick up his seventh 5-wicket haul. Can't expect the bowlers to do the job all the time, but that's been the case in this series so far.
Yes, true that. I think bowlers have probably over delivered. And obviously, seventh 5-wicket haul, fantastic stuff. We spoke a lot about the bowling. In terms of batting, I mean, I was very impressed, and I think I mentioned this in the afternoon show, that Peterson, just his compact nature. I mean, it took a really good ball to get him out, but just loved the way he built his innings, paced his innings. He played within, he didn't kind of really chase balls. Really refreshing to see compared to some of the other batsmen. What did you think of his batting?
It was a superb knock and a player for the future. You can keep an eye on him. You and I spoke this afternoon about learning from Virat Kohli. A lot of the others didn't, but he did. He hardly played any balls, and that just goes to show that he's got a very, very able head on his shoulders. These are the little pointers that tell you this kid is gonna go ahead, because he learned this is not his natural batting, but the way he played close to the body, didn't play outside off stump, and if it took a Virat Kohli on his 99 Test match to play the way he did, he's a newcomer. Can you imagine how good he will be in his 99 Test match? This is how careers are made, and this is where you actually you show everybody that I belong here. It separates the men from the boys. With all the senior players around, he's the one who came and stood out, and this will make him take him to the next level. Now he knows he's done it. He's done it against the three best fast bowlers in the world and one of the top teams in the world. So when he plays the next series, he'll be like, oh my God, I've done it. This game is so much about confidence with all the technique and temperament and everything else. This game is about confidence. And when you get a knock like this, in conditions like this, against an attack like this, you're on cloud nine.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of a few of Dravid's innings back in the day. I mean, just the resolve, and also the way he was trying to blunt the attack, I thought was phenomenal. I mean, for a young batsman like him at that position, coming in at a time when your top two batsmen had just kind of gotten out, I thought his and Bavuma's partnership looked, interesting. But again, it took really some good deliveries to get these batsmen out. Let's talk about the
And
Indian batting.
also of
Yes, please.
all the batters who batted, Pranti, all the batters, Virat included, everybody included, he probably looked most at ease initially
Yeah.
also. Virat initially was a little jittery. Then
Yes,
he got
absolutely.
going because class takes over, because he hasn't got runs, missed a test match, blah, 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 played two balls way outside off stump. So he had to prove things right. So there's a lot going on in his head. But for this guy from ball one, he was in control. The way he controlled his mind was superb to see, because that's the most difficult thing when you go there. Suddenly
Yeah,
to curb
control's
your
the
own
right word.
game, and yeah, because you curb your own game to the conditions, you succumb to the conditions, you play to the conditions. You play second fiddle. That's not easy for a young player to do. That was very heartening to see.
Absolutely. I mean, after Quinton de Kock's departure, I think this is probably a talent along with Bavuma, Elgar, Markram. Probably South Africa is going to rebuild around these four or five batsmen. And talking about the Indian attack again, when I see Mayank, I mean, I want to talk about him because he's literally the very first ball he starts punching, he's cutting it, he's driving it, looks good, And then suddenly there comes that one delivery. Now, of course, everyone spoke that you couldn't do much about the delivery. But as someone who's played the game for so long, is that necessarily true? What should a Mayank do? Because he just looks the intent's there. He's making those strokes, but is it always a good delivery that's taking him, or do you see is the backlift an issue? Sometimes I wonder it's a huge, very high black backlift. Do you see a technical issue to be resolved, or it's just been a matter of really good deliveries?
Yeah, there is a bit of technique issue, no doubt about it, but I think more mental because both KL and Mayank both are want to put bat on ball. They are not the ideal openers that you have in mind, not the Sunil Gavaskar who leave 20 balls
Right.
and get set. Both these guys like to put bat on ball. Okay. So now, okay, they've been thrust upon opening. I don't think both of them are natural openers in the true sense of a test match opener.
Right.
You're talking about even today, somebody like a Pujara, he's a number three. He can go and leave 20 balls in a row. I can't imagine Rahul leaving 20 balls in a row. It's not his game. And when you
Yeah.
have too much of talent, you feel I can play this ball. When your talent is less, you feel, oh my God, I don't want to go beyond it. So everybody has a sort of area where they want to be inside. Now, KL Rahul's circle is so big, he can do so many things. Compared to that, a Pujara's circle is much smaller. And idea is in batting, you live within the circle that you have. So, but if your circle is big, then you want to, okay, I can play this, I can do this, I can do this. And with so much of white ball cricket, it comes in naturally also. We play about 6, 7, 8 test matches a year. We play
Yeah.
way too much one day cricket. So you really need a matured player. Even I was disappointed with the way KL Rahul also got out. I thought that
Very,
ball
very
going
disappointing.
across, yeah, you didn't have to because he's a big player. He was captain in the last test match. We've got a couple of our batters who are not in form. You've got 100 in the first test. I mean, you are the guy we're looking at. And
Yeah.
there to push a ball which is going across, caught in the slips, it was a nothing shot. It was not getting him anywhere. I can
Yeah,
understand
I
if the
mean,
ball
I
was
was
swinging
hoping
back
that
in.
that's right. Either the feet kind of moved ahead and he could drive it. I mean, it was half-hearted, tentative,
He
and
could have
that's
easily
what kind
left
of
that ball because not
easily.
not one ball from the left arm seamer came in until he went round the wicket. Every time he was over the wicket, everything was across. And he played that ball because he had left a few balls. He just wanted to, maybe he thought being aggressive is the intent. Maybe that's the way to go forward. Maybe that's the team talk they had. Let's go and play some shots. Let's put them under pressure, whatever it is. But even then, you got to choose. Even then, you got to choose. And I think I was more disappointed with KL Rahul and Mayank also. If he wants to be a good test match opener in all conditions, especially we've always been good against bounce. Bounce has never been an
Yeah,
issue for Indians. Seam has been an issue.
same.
We've struggled
Yeah,
in England, yeah. And this is seam today. There was bounce, but there was a lot of seam today. And
yeah.
when there is seam, you can't have hard hands. You got to go back and do it the Sunil Gavaskar way, grind it out, let them bowl their first spells, come in the second spell, and slowly the game opens up. But you can't just go hammer and tongs. You cannot go and blast your way out against seam bowling. Not of
And
this
this is where
quality.
I started thinking about, what probably Rohit Sharma was doing in England. He gave himself 30, 40 balls. He's also a
Exactly.
stroke maker. But,
Exactly. You hit the
he
nail in the
realized this
head.
is,
So
yeah,
there's a guy who used to play in the middle order in days cricket. Started opening in one day. Saurav Ganguly also opened in one day, but he played in the
one
middle
day.
order in test matches. Now he also has started opening in test matches, and look how he changed his game. So
Yeah.
to be successful, Mayank, KL is as talented as they come. Okay, we can talk about it till the cows come home. I understand, but even then, there has to be a little period of time when you have to give some time to the bowlers. Gavaskar used to say, "Till lunch is the bowlers, lunch to tea is yours."
Is
But you
yours.
have to give till lunch. So
Yeah.
you give them one session, they'll give you two. But you have to give them
That's a
one
good way to
session.
look at it.
When the
Yeah.
bowling is of this quality,
Yeah.
with the amount of juice there is on the deck.
And let's talk about that application with Kohli. I mean, he's done that in the first innings. Even here, to me, what I loved is just the deliveries that he's leaving. Unlike, there's been
Yeah,
so much chatter on Twitter everywhere that he should do a Sachin of 2004. But good to see that, he's obviously not letting go of the cover drive. He's backing himself, he's scoring through those drives, but he is leaving the balls that are of good length. And even today, whether it was Rabada, whether it was Marco Hudson, Olivier, he did such a good job of leaving those balls. And you could kind of sense that he's putting a price on this. He wants to be there. He knows it's
yeah.
his, obviously his score, as well as there's history at stake. So I'm really hoping. I mean, was very happy to see Pujara. Initially, Pujara was nudging around, but good to see that very positive drive of Rabada, which got him four. So again, it's very interesting to see that maturity. That look, like you said, you probably leave a
Yeah.
few, but there will be full deliveries. There will be balls to score. Of course, never. It's easier said than done, but that's what Test cricket at this level is all about.
Yeah, two things Virat has done really well in this test match. One is that he hasn't hit the balls which are on fifth and sixth stump, which he did in the last test match that he played, and he paid heavily for that. And he's only hit the balls which have been full in length.
Yeah.
Even in length, if it's full, for a ball to swing, it has to hit the ground, and there has to be a 3 or 4 yards or 5 yards for it to move. Every time that has happened, he's let it go. But every time the ball is pitched really close to him and didn't have the space to swing, he's made them pay. Because good swing bowlers, the Andersons, the McGraths, they always bowl back over length because they
Back.
need the ball, even the Shami today, even Bumrah, they need that ball to travel 4 or 5 yards for the swing to be able to break whichever way they want to. If you're too full, then the batters get on top of the swing. So that's what Virat has done. My coach used to say, batting is like going to a buffet. Most of the good food is right at the end. Okay? So you start with the salad and the soup and the rice, but the prawns and the chicken are right at the end. But you got to wade your way through and then get there.
Well, that's good advice for vegan Kohli. Wonder what is he waiting for at the end of the buffet instead of prawns and chicken. But that's so much to chew on. And let's get before we end. 70 the lead. Do you reckon? I mean, obviously more the merrier. But do you reckon India can defend India's bowling in these conditions? Can we defend just about 200? Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think this lead we have is more of a bragging rights lead. Okay, this lead
Yeah.
means nothing. How we came and batted, especially after losing 2 wickets, the body language, Virat Kohli coming out, running in, getting a knock on the right elbow, smiling. It showed he meant business. The body language was superb, and you expect that from somebody like him, somebody
Kohli,
as
yeah.
good as him, because he knows body language is all about. Because it is not only him, the next guy who's out of form, the guy after who doesn't have a lot of runs, even those guys will look at the body language and look at this guy. You don't want a captain who is, looking that like we are in trouble, and you don't want that sort of. Even if he's feeling that, he's not showing that. That's the class of Virat Kohli, and I really feel anything above 220, 230 will be difficult. I don't see this pitch getting any better. The
Yeah.
only thing that might happen is with so much of wear and tear, it just might get a bit slower. When we were bowling, there were a lot of balls that were keeping low. In fact, in the last pair, there were about 3 or 4 balls which hit the bottom of the bat. So when we bowl, it was a lack of bounce. When they're bowling, but they're bowling with a hard new ball. If we can see through the morning 1 hour tomorrow, I think things will ease out. And our number 5, 6, 7, 8, everybody has a role to play. A 25 from Ashwin, a 20 from a Sami. He's capable of it. He's got a 50 at the home of cricket or wherever he has. So he can bat. Even the small contributions matter.
Yeah, just like
And
what
now the
Maharaj
full
did,
pressure.
this morning.
Yeah,
Maharaj
absolutely.
25 was priceless.
Yeah.
No, you're
So
right. So,
some knocks like that. Yeah, go on.
no, I was just saying that, so, I mean, clearly I hear 220, 230 seems par. Anything more obviously is great. And you spoke about the wicket potentially slowing at the bounce. Do you reckon there could be a big role for Ashwin, or this is not the ground where India should, gamble too much with spin?
I saw him bowl today and it was spinning. I was a little surprised with his line. I was surprised with his pace. I think it was too quick. He's a wily old fox. He can really, hang it up in the air. I've asked this question to Ridhiman that you've kept to Harbhajan and you've kept to Ashwin. So he says that both are superb, but the control that Ashwin has, he said, I played with Harbhajan to the fag end of Harbhajan's career.
Yeah.
But the amount of control Ashwin has on that ball, the way he can just hang it in the air and drop it is phenomenal. I thought he was a trifle quicker, but I thought the role that was given to him, because Umesh was leaking runs,
Umesh.
because Shardul was going, he was asked to tighten one end up. He was 8 overs, 14 runs, and he was doing the job, which is why he had a 6-3 field with a slip, a backward point, and a mid-off, and he had 6 men on the onside. He was bowling in the body. When you have an off-spinner bowling in the body in a test match, he's not trying to get you out. No silly point, no short leg. That's not Ashwin. So his role was different, and he did that to perfection. And I feel if it gets slower, and if there is wear and tear, he can come in. And if if he's on song, a lot of these South African players who haven't played him before, it'll be a tough task for them.
All right. I think we're all set for a very, very exciting day three. Like I said, I'm still a bit puzzled that it's day three only. We're probably at the very fag end of this match and the series. We'll come back again half an hour before tomorrow's start of play. Things look extremely well poised, just like yesterday. India probably is a nudge ahead with 70 on the board. As we spoke last time, you would want to go to fourth innings with runs on the board. Hopefully, for Team India's sake, we can get there with 200 plus. If one of these current batsmen can score a 70, 80 even, and the rest can chip in with 20, 30, as Joydita was saying, I think India should be looking at a very, very interesting final innings. And I think you're right, probably the Pacers, we will be banking on the Pacers. But if Ashwin can kind of, again, take a couple of quick ones, because I think yes, I mean, in the fourth innings we're probably not looking at containing you. We need to look for those wickets. So maybe the roles will change, the attacking fields will come in. Well, we'll have to wait and watch. Let's get a good night's sleep, and we'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Thank you so much. Good night.